Hello and welcome. I'm Yvonne Young, and here's what happened this week. In a major diplomatic blow for Taiwan, Honduran President Xiomara Castro has announced that her country will begin the process of recognizing China over Taiwan on Wednesday. The move brings an end to more than 70 years of continuous diplomatic relations. The decision will leave Taiwan with just 13 former allies. Honduras' foreign minister says the move isn't about ideology, it's about money. John Van Trieste reports.
The flag flying atop this building will soon be coming down. This is Taiwan's soon-to-be former embassy in the Central American country of Honduras. The country's president floated the idea of cutting ties with Taiwan even before taking office. Now, more than a year into her term, she's making the move. Honduras will now recognize China instead. China claims Taiwan as part of its territory, and in its campaign to isolate Taiwan, it makes countries pick a side. Honduras says mounting foreign debt is behind the switch. The country owed around $8 billion in the last quarter of 2022. Its debts to Taiwan amount to $600 million. Analysts say that while Taiwan offers a range of assistance to allies, such debts aren't unusual.
When we have diplomatic ties, a lot of developing countries need financial help, and we sometimes give money just as assistance, but other times we give them as loan, and a lot of time this low interest loan they cannot repay. That's why you will have accumulate debt.
Honduras asked to renegotiate this debt and for Taiwan to double its yearly aid to $100 million. But it says the results of this discussion were less than fruitful.
El país se enfrenta a una crisis muy compleja en varias de las temáticas y por lo tanto la presidenta, después de un año de estar en estas conversaciones con Taiwán, pues no se recibieron las respuestas esperadas.
Taiwan says it promised to help the country's development within its means, but it says it won't engage in a battle of dollar diplomacy with China. The foreign ministry said, quote, "We have striven to maintain friendly relations with Honduras and have done our utmost to secure them, but we will not engage in a financial competition with China. At the same time, we remind the Honduran government that even though it suffers from problems of debt, it should by no means do something that will backfire and allow itself to fall into a Chinese debt trap." The switch is a blow for Taipei, which will now have 13 diplomatic allies, most of them in Latin America, the Caribbean, and the Pacific. These allies speak on Taiwan's behalf in organizations like the UN, where Taiwan is barred due to Chinese pressure. Honduras says the switch is not about ideology, but some of the country's analysts are skeptical.
No, para China el interés es meramente político. Es quitarle otro aliado a Taiwán y hacerle frente a Estados Unidos. Eso es lo que sucede. Miren, nosotros somos parte de las piezas de un ajedrez internacional, pero nosotros no lo entendemos y creemos que somos grandes jugadores si establecemos relaciones con China. Estamos siendo utilizados por China.
Back in Taiwan, the more than 100 Honduran students on Taiwan government scholarships are worried about the future, especially given what's happened to students from other former Taiwan allies when relations were cut.
And I know how hard they've worked for this, like for having a scholarship, and this is out of their hands. So the future is uncertain. Like, for example, I've seen previous examples with Nicaragua. They need to start all over again their studies, or they just continue their studies in China. But however, time is something you don't get back.
The loss of Honduras as an ally comes as an embarrassment to Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen ahead of her expected April trip to visit other allies in Central America, where her mission of shoring up ties will now have an added urgency. Damon Lin, Louise Watt, and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
From one battleground to another, the founder of Taiwanese chip giant TSMC says he supports the U.S.'s efforts to rein in China's access to semiconductor tech. Seth Butler has the report.
Chips are the new oil, at least according to Chris Miller, the author of a best-selling book called Chip War. And at a forum in Taipei, he said in this critical industry, there's one country leading the way.
As we look at the big transformative shifts in the international economy and politics and society and technology, my argument to you is that we have to put semiconductors at the center of that analysis, and that any analysis of semiconductors has to put Taiwan on the center of the map.
And at the center of Taiwan's chip dominance, one company, called TSMC. TSMC's rise to the top of global semiconductor production has been nothing short of astronomical. Founded in 1987, it's now worth about $500 billion, and it dominates the production market. In the last quarter of 2022, TSMC controlled about 60% of the market among semiconductor foundries, well ahead of Korean rival Samsung and Taiwanese foundry UMC. Even the company's founder, Morris Chang, did not expect that kind of a rise.
I just wanted to survive. I just wanted the company to survive.
That dominant position has attracted international attention.
The forum here in Taipei is highlighting the critical role that TSMC plays in the world's chip industry, and that one company's strength has turned Taiwan into a focus of a global struggle.
The US and China increasingly view advanced semiconductors as a critical resource, and Washington does not want to rely on others to get them.
The slumbering giant that is America has finally awakened to the challenge that we face from the People's Republic of China, their aggressive posture in the region, and the potential they would have of cutting off our access to advanced semiconductors.
The US has moved to cut off China from the global chip supply chain. To do that, it needs support from other countries, including Taiwan. And despite the potential damage to TSMC's business, the company's founder says he supports those moves.
I really have no quarrel with that. In fact, I might say I support it.
But separation from China is not easy. The economies on the two sides of the Taiwan Strait are deeply tied. Add to that the fact that China claims Taiwan as its own and regularly flies warplanes near its airspace, and Taiwan's difficult position becomes clear. For Taiwan's vice president, preserving Taiwan's democracy in the face of that aggression is as important to TSMC as it is to the country.
因为民主啊，对台积电这种国际级的公司，创新研发不断的公司，就像空气、水、阳光一样的重要。
TSMC is the jewel in Taiwan's industrial crown and the source of much of its wealth. Its rise has been critical for putting the country on the map in an age of intense tech competition. And as the war over chip supremacy continues, the company will be vital in ensuring Taiwan keeps its edge. Alex Chen and Stash Butler in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Turning now to local defense. Taiwan's top weapons maker, the Zhongshan Institute, has unveiled a series of military drones aimed at boosting the country's defense capabilities. Our reporter Jaime Ocon was in the central city of Taichung to get a closer look.
These drones are the newest additions to Taiwan's defense. The Zhongshan Institute of Science and Technology, the country's largest weapons maker, unveiled a new series of radar and combat drones designed for military use on Tuesday. Last month, the military announced that it would team up with the institute to upgrade existing civilian drones to a military standard and begin production. Officials say it's part of a growing trend around the world as many countries are looking to develop their own unmanned aerial systems.
我们可以看到，目前世界使用无人机相当成熟制造的国家，比如说土耳其，比如说以色列，甚至波兰等等，我们都可以看到它参加了世界上的一些区域冲突，还有各项战争。
Ukraine's success in using drones to push back the Russian invasion has shed light on how valuable this technology is. And now, Taiwan is looking to boost its own drone production. Officials here say that unmanned systems like these suicide drones are the future of warfare. This suicide drone is small enough to fit inside of a backpack and is one of the country's newest weapon systems. This drone in particular takes inspiration from the US-made Switchblade drone, known for its small size, portability, and ability to take out vehicles.
那当然最有名的还是美国的弹簧刀系列。因为依照美国的公开资料，这个弹簧刀大概生产了10万架，非常惊人的数字。那有很好的实战经验。
These drones are part of what experts call an asymmetric defense strategy. That means using lighter, more mobile weapons to destroy bigger, more expensive systems. Taiwan faces the threat of invasion from China, as Chinese warplanes and ships often operate around the country. This puts a strain on Taiwan's armed forces to respond. The production of these drones is all part of a push by the country to modernize its forces without putting any of its soldiers at risk. With mass production hoping to begin soon, the military hopes its new drone fleet will help be a key part of the country's defenses. Howard Zhang and Jaime Okan in Taichung for TaiwanPlus.
This week, Taiwan decommissioned the last generator at one of its nuclear power plants. It's part of the government's plan to phase out nuclear power by 2025, despite fears of looming electricity shortages. Louis Watt reports.
Taiwan's second nuclear power plant, which has been supplying the country with power for 40 years, is being decommissioned. But industry and experts are worried its shutdown will lead to power shortages.
非核家园政策底下，又没有新的配套措施出来，那是注定要缺电的。
Nuclear power has fallen to about 8% of Taiwan's energy mix, and this generator that is being closed provides around 3% of Taiwan's energy supply. With its decommissioning, one nuclear plant remains in operation. Recent power shortages in Taiwan have led to calls for the second plant's life to be extended, something the state power company says isn't going to happen.
就是法规规定的40年的时间到了，那我们就是这样子让它延续下，除役下来。
The ruling Democratic Progressive Party has long been against nuclear power and aims to phase it out by 2025. A big concern is where to store spent fuel.
新北市政府事实上不仅是核二，甚至核一厂，我们的核燃用过的这个核燃料呢，都还没有拿出来哈。那这个问题应该是说国人对这个问题还有很多的争议啦哈。
The government says there's no need to worry about power shortages, as natural gas generating units that will come online this summer will have installed capacity of 1,300 megawatts, which is more than the 985 megawatt capacity of the second nuclear plant. Taiwan is also developing wind and solar power, which currently provide 8% of its power, far off the government's target of 20% by 2025, when the country's final nuclear plant will also be laid to rest. Damon Lin and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
International nonprofit group Civicus recently released its annual report, ranking each country on its protection of freedoms and civil liberties. This year, Taiwan is the only country in Asia to receive the report's top ranking. Sam Robbins has the details.
Is Taiwan the only truly open country in Asia? A new annual report by the international nonprofit organization Civicus says it is. The report ranks how well each country protects, quote, civic space. It defines this as freedom of association, assembly, and speech. Each country is given one of 5 ranks, with open being the highest and closed being the lowest. Taiwan is amongst the 3.2% of countries globally ranked as open.
This comes just days after Freedom House gave Taiwan a 94 out of 100 in its annual Freedom in the World report, putting Taiwan in narrowly behind Japan. Keeping Taiwan from getting a perfect score were threats of Chinese influence, government corruption, unequal treatment of minority groups, and tough rules on labor unions. Both reports point to a global decline in democracy and freedom. Civicus says that now over 50% of countries are either repressed or closed. And Freedom House says that freedom has been on the decline globally for the last 17 years. So how has Taiwan bucked the trend?
Civicus told Taiwan's central news agency that Taiwanese officials are open to criticism and create platforms for discussion. They also praised Taiwan's free media environment. Freedom House lauded Taiwan's strong protection of civil liberties, but added that the country can still do more to promote equality and fairness. So while Taiwan may be the only open country in Asia, with freedom under threat globally, it will likely take work to maintain that ranking. Eason Pan and Sam Robbins for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. Finally, we'll leave you with images of a Malaysian tapir family at Taipei Zoo. I'm Yvonne Yang. Take care and see you next time.